All participants agree to the possibility of appearing on these recordings by virtue of attending. The celebration is a tribute to the growing community of sustainability-minded students, faculty, and staff at the University of Toronto. Hosted by the Committee on the Environment, Climate Change, and Sustainability, also known as the CECCS, and made possible by the generous donation from Wendy Adams, the purpose of this event series is to celebrate successes, inspire new activities, build relationships, and collaboratively deepen campus engagement around sustainability. My name is Nadine, and I will be the moderator for this event. I am the Student Life and Sustainability Programs Coordinator at the University of Toronto Scarborough campus. I want to thank everyone for coming and quickly go over some Zoom etiquette. If there is any inappropriate verbal or written communication, individuals will be removed from the main session. We are asking that we as a community hold each other accountable for maintaining a space of safety, accountability, respect, and inclusion. If you have any questions for any of the panelists, please type it in the chat. Note that some questions may be combined with others or not be addressed due to time constraints. I'd like to also begin with a land acknowledgement. I wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. I'd like to add that I am currently in Etobicoke myself, and I'd like to note that in addition, Etobicoke has been the traditional land of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and Petun. I learned that from native-land.ca, and I encourage everyone here to check out that website. I'll pop it in the chat to learn about settler-Indigenous relations, the history of colonialism, as well as Indigenous ways of knowing, and much, much more. Today, we will be discussing U of T's Sustainable Change Program, a fully tri-campus program launching first at St. George, then UTM and UTSC campuses, designed to engage and empower U of T students, staff, and faculty to actively follow sustainable practices. I am really looking forward to learning more about this great program. Today on our wonderful panel, we have Scott Hendershot, the Senior Manager, Sustainability Office at U of T St. George, Beverly Ayengi, the Sustainability Manager, Strategic Initiatives at U of T Mississauga, Chelsea Dalton, Project Manager at the Sustainability Office, U of T St. George, and Kayla Lachance, Project Manager at the Sustainability Office, U of T St. George. For today's event, we will start with an overview of the Sustainable Change Program, then a demonstration of the app. We'll proceed to a panel discussion, and then I will open it up for some general questions. With that, please take it away, Chelsea.
Thank you, Nadine. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen all right?
Looks good.
Okay, great. So as Nadine mentioned, my name is Chelsea Dalton, and I work at the St. George Sustainability Office. I'm a project manager there. And I'm going to be speaking today about the sustainable change programs and how we're using those to engage and empower the U of T community to be change agents. And, oh, there it goes. Okay. Had a little bit of trouble advancing the slides. So a little bit of background on these programs. Prior to the pandemic, the Sustainability Office did have some programs that we called the Green Suite engagement programs. And we really saw an opportunity post-pandemic to review those programs and to really improve how we connect, engage, and empower the U of T community. The old programs were certification programs for various spaces on campus. And we saw that there was an opportunity to move beyond the traditional green aspect of sustainability more towards a holistic sustainability viewpoint. And to do this, we were guided by the UN Sustainable Development Goals. There are a total of 17 goals, and they really cover the holistic aspects of sustainability. They don't look at just the environment. They look at all three pillars of the environment, society, and economy. We also wanted to make sure that we had a best-in-class program. So we undertook a great deal of research, benchmarking with peer institutions. We looked at other institutions in Canada, in North America, and throughout the world to see how other institutions were running their certification programs for these sorts of spaces, and to ensure that we really created a best-in-class program here at U of T. Throughout the process, we had stakeholder groups that we spoke with, and we had multiple feedback sessions with all of those stakeholder groups. There was a total of over 40 participants who gave feedback during the development process of the sustainable change programs. And there were multiple sessions for each stakeholder group. So we got continuous feedback throughout the development process for these programs. We also saw an opportunity to move the programs to a more online, efficient sort of process instead of using the ever-effective Excel spreadsheet. We really wanted to make something that was a little bit cleaner and a little bit easier to use and less of a pull on staff time than having to use Excel to keep track of everything. This process of development of the sustainable change programs has taken approximately a year and a half. So it has been a very extensive process that we've gone through. So some of the goals of the sustainable change programs, really what we want to do is we want to engage our community members on campus, students, staff, and faculty, the people who are here on campus. And our end goal in doing that is to encourage behavior change. We want people to change the way that they're engaging with energy use, water use, waste production. And we feel like a really great way to change behavior is to foster a little bit of friendly competition. We think that that's a kind of a fun way for people to change behavior. And in doing that, we also want to create a cultural shift towards sustainable practices. One of the biggest predictors of behavior is the prevailing culture that you're living in. And so we really want U of T to be a place where we have a culture of sustainability. And we also want to create accountability for campus users, because when it comes down to it, the people who are responsible for energy use, waste production, water use on campus are the end users, the people who live and work and attend U of T. So we have a suite of 5 engagement programs. We did create the new Sustainable Labs program. We didn't previously have a Green Labs program. The other 4 programs, which were part of the original suite, were Sustainable Offices, Events, Residences, and Courses. These 4 programs have been completely overdone, completely overhauled, and are pretty much brand new as well, although they existed in the previous Green Suite. So I'm going to speak a little bit about each of the different programs. Each program covers different areas according to that particular program. And in the certification form, we'll ask different questions. So a couple of examples here in the Sustainable Labs program, we, for example, ask about fume hoods. Fume hoods are extremely high users of energy. One fume hood uses about the same amount of energy in a year as 3 homes. So we want to really ensure that people who are working in a lab are shutting the sash when their fume hoods aren't in use, and when they're using the fume hood, to make sure that they're keeping the sash at the lowest safe working position. Labs are also large users in some cases of chemicals, and we felt that chemical management was a very important aspect of sustainable labs. So we ask things like, what types of chemicals are you using? Are they hazardous? Have you thought about ways to reduce your chemical use? Do you use less hazardous chemicals when it is possible? We also have a question about whether people use computer simulations to try and cut down on the amount of reactions that they're doing in the lab. So we really kind of try to look at all the different aspects of a sustainable lab and bring them all together in the certification program. Sustainable Offices is one of our programs where people can certify at any level, down from an individual person working in one workspace all the way up to an entire department certifying as a group. We have continued to use some of the more traditional aspects of sustainable offices, for example, paper use, making sure people are printing only when it's required, making sure they're printing double-sided. But we also go a little bit farther and look at things like, what's your break room like? Are you providing coffee to employees? And if you are, is that coffee ethically sourced? Is it fair trade? And we also look at other aspects like, are you providing disposable cups for people to drink their coffee in, which contributes to waste production, but it also contributes to the culture of the office. If you're moving away from that throwaway culture and people are bringing their own mugs or you're providing ceramic mugs for them, that is something that helps to kind of change the culture of the office and bring a more sustainable culture to the forefront. Sustainable residences is another program that we have where people can certify anywhere from the individual level all the way up to certifying an entire residence building if everyone in that building is kind of following sustainable practices. We do look in this program a lot at energy and water efficiency. We felt that this was very important for the residences program in particular, because people who live on residence are the ones they're here all the time. They're big users of energy, big users of water because they live on campus. So we do ask a lot of questions about if you have lamps, are you using efficient light bulbs? Are you washing your clothing in cold water and air drying it, that sort of thing. So we have a large section of the form that's dedicated to that. But then we've also, like I said, wanted to move more to a holistic aspect of sustainability and looking at good health and well-being. So we ask questions about, are you incorporating active living into your daily life? Are you incorporating mindfulness into your life to appreciate relationships with the environment? So we wanted to, again, bring it away from just like, are you turning off the lights when you leave the room to, are you doing all these other parts of sustainability as well? Sustainable events can apply to events that are held by the university, as well as events that are held by student clubs and other groups on campus. So we are looking again at the kind of the things that you would think of. Are your tickets digital? Are you avoiding flyers and leafleting to advertise your event? But we've also asked people to go a little bit further. The photo on the left is Kayla. She's one of our panelists today. And that was Kayla at our, we had a holiday cafe event for the facilities and services group. And throughout the event, Kayla stood next to the waste bins. And whenever someone came up to the bins with an item in their hand, she said, that needs to go in that bin. So throughout the whole event, people knew exactly where they needed to put their items. We had very little contamination of our recycling, and we had very high capture rates on recyclable materials. So we made sure that we were minimizing the materials going to landfill. And something as small as that, having a volunteer standing next to your waste bins, can make a very, very big difference in terms of what your waste and recycling looks like at the end of the event. Sustainable courses is the final program that I'm going to speak about today. Our old sustainable courses program that was part of the Green Suite focused pretty much exclusively on paper use. And while paper use is certainly a part of this program, it's only a very small part of it. We've done a lot of revamping of the sustainable courses program. And one of the things that we ask people to do as part of this program is we ask instructors to show a slideshow in class. And that slideshow covers various topics. It includes the importance of sustainable courses, some best practices where we ask students to go beyond just kind of, print double-sided and ask them to join a club about sustainability, learn a little bit about sustainability, talk to other people about it. And we also have some template slides in that PowerPoint presentation where instructors, if there are any sustainable development goals that are relevant to their course, can actually speak about those sustainable development goals and how they relate to the course content so that students can get that connection between what they're learning in class and the larger sustainable development goals as well. So just a brief overview of the certification process. In a minute, we're going to have Scott walk you through our sustainable change web app and how the certification process actually looks. But we've tried to make this as simple for participants as possible. People will go into our website, they'll take a look at the overview of the program, they can review the program highlights, and then they can click through on the Get Certified button to complete the certification form. Once they've completed the certification form and they've submitted it, the Sustainability Office receives it. We review it, go over it, make sure everything looks good, and then we will approve the certification. And then the web application sends the participant a certificate, a badge or ribbon, and resources for improvement. So once you've certified once, you have those resources for improvement. You can make sure that you can get a better score when you certify again next year. This is the certification scheme that we are using for these programs. There are 4 levels of certification: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. With the exception of courses, courses is just a simple pass-fail scheme. For all of the others, we have the 4 levels of certification. And we base these scores off of the percentage of available points. So if, for example, you're part of a lab that doesn't use chemicals, you can click not applicable in that section and it won't count against your score at all. So we look at what's actually applicable to certain people. On the bottom of the screen there, you can see some of the badges that we have. These are for the events, labs, and group certifications for residences and offices. So if you're certified at those levels, you'll receive those badges. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see our sustainable residence and office ribbons for individual participation. So individual participants will get a ribbon and group participants get a badge. These badges and ribbons are meant to be included in email signatures. They can be displayed at a sustainable event or on the wall or inside of a sustainable lab or a sustainable office. So we're hoping to see these kind of start to pop up around campus once the programs are launched. To foster the friendly competition aspect that I spoke about earlier, we have our program leaderboard. So for each of the programs, if the participants have given permission, they will appear on the leaderboard for the program. So people can go into the web app, they can take a look at the leaderboard, they can see who's certified, what level of certification they got, what their score was, and then they'll actually, Scott will show you in just a minute, they can actually go in and they can look at other people's forms that they filled out and see exactly how they got the score that they did, which could also give them some really good ideas for how they might be able to make their score a little bit higher, how they can make their space a little bit more sustainable. And without further ado, Scott is going to give you a little bit of a tour of the sustainability website as well as the Sustainable Change web app, so we can all get an idea of how it works.
Thank you, Chelsea. And I apologize for the bicycle shot there. That was my addition to Chelsea's presentation. I had to do it. If those of you that know me well, I'm a big cyclist, a big fan of the various tours. It's a very sustainable mode of transportation. So anyway, I apologize for that, but it's a setting. When seeing the green guy up front, right, the green jersey, I thought it was a really good connection to what we're doing. So Chelsea, thanks so much. Awesome presentation. And, you know, the only thing I'm going to add to Chelsea's presentation, if I could, first of all, is everyone seeing my screen okay? Do I look, give me a thumbs up? Okay, perfect. Is that, you know, it did take us over a year and a half. This process started, I was very fortunate to start at U of T in January 2021, just over a year ago. And the process of revamping the Green Suite had already sort of begun with previous sustainability office coordinators, as well as the help of many students, both work study and over at professional experience program students. So I want to give a strong shout out to those folks that gave us a hand. It was not an insignificant effort at all to do a lot of the research, a lot of the digging, a lot of the collating. There was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes by the students to help us. So thank you so much for that. So with respect to the tour, so what I want to show everyone very briefly, I don't want to spend too much time because I want to get to questions, but everyone will be able to see this particular website. If you just Google U of T sustainability or U of T facilities and services, you'll come to this page. And when we go to sustainability, and specifically programs for action, or actually this will basically take you to our main sustainability office webpage. If you've not been here, this has been relatively recently revamped. We have a lot of fresh information in here and we're constantly updating this, so please do come back. But what you're going to find is under programs for action, you're actually going to see this the sustainable change programs. You don't see them now. Right now, as you see, you will only be seeing the Sustainable Action Awards. That's because our program is in the background and, as Chelsea mentioned, very soon to be launched within the next couple of weeks, in fact, okay? We don't have a firm date yet, but it's very close. So we're very excited to show you what it's going to look like. So I'm going to imagine there was a button here that said Sustainable Change Programs, okay? This is what you're actually going to see. And what you'll see is these 5 beautiful boxes here that will direct you to each of the programs. And we've really tried to spend a lot of time to make this very user-friendly, very straightforward, process-based, okay, and as easy as possible to do. And hopefully you will see that when I demo here today. So you can see there's walking you through the process, you know, why would you certify, et cetera, and various buttons to take you to the certification pages themselves, the forums, to take you to the leaderboard, which I'm going to show you in a second. And as well, of course, we're always looking for feedback. These programs are going to be consistently updated as we move forward in time. Sustainability and what we feel is a platinum level of sustainable office today is not going to be a platinum office level in 2 years from now. It's going to be much more stringent. So we will be constantly moving forward to include more elements of sustainability and set that bar higher and higher. So for example, I'm going to use labs, if I could today as my example. What this will do, it will take you to this page here that actually shows you, and all of the programs have the same format. They have an overview, so an overview here, which gives you just a general update of exactly what we're going to be asking you to do in the certification program. We actually go over to this tab and it'll give you a highlight of what will be asked in the certification form itself. So you scroll down here, you'll actually be able to see the kinds of questions that'll be asked. So before actually going through the certification process, you can warm yourself up and get a sense of what will be asked before you begin. As well, we have a list of very detailed resources that you can see here, including some very useful links for you that are related to that particular program. And then finally, the actual certification form tab itself walks you through the steps itself, but literally all you need to do is press get certified, and it will take you to the web application that we've been spending quite a bit of time preparing for you to actually use, which I'm going to show you now. So if I can go back to my main page, again, you can select what I just walked you through for Sustainable Labs. We have the same for all of the other programs. So now I'm going to give you an example of what a survey looks like. So this is the actual web app. So when I say get certified, this is where it will take you. And here I am. This is Sustainable Residences. It's the annual certification form, a few instructions, and then away we go. So I'm going to start because I'm going to do it as an individual. And then I'm going to fill in my detailed information with a lot of thought here, as you can tell, right? And I can select my radio buttons here. We've tried to make this as user-friendly as possible with respect to having the status bar at the top. So you're going from section to section, filling out the different questions. And I can jump ahead to waste reduction if I want to focus on that first. I can answer my questions, no problem, beautiful. And then let's say I'm done here. I can move on to the next one. And similarly, I can fill out my form here, etc. And then I can go to my next. And then finally, when I go to my last section and I go submit, it's telling me, hey, dummy, you haven't filled everything out yet. So we've tried to make it very, very clear which questions are missing. So not only does it tell you what section you're missing questions, it actually points them out for you. And we found this is one of the many improvements that we added to the web app over the last few months, actually, because we were originally planning to launch this in late fall last year, but we realized there was an opportunity to make this really slick for everybody. So it's really easy to use. Another example, Sustainable Labs, it's the same idea. You're going to fill in your information. And again, we have the different sections that Chelsea walked through here that cover a lot of different elements of sustainability. But again, it's the same sort of format. And when you're done and everything is completed, you submit and away you go. The form comes to us in the sustainability office. We have a look at it and we make sure that everything kind of looks good. And then ultimately we will actually review, click a button and send you your certification, be it bronze, silver, gold, or platinum level. And then you're a user and now you're saying, I want to go and see what Chelsea Dalton did when she got her silver here on March 16th, 2022. So what you have the ability to do here on our leaderboard in the web app is to click this button here, and you'll actually be able to see how Chelsea filled this out. She didn't do a very good job because she's put in some different language here, but that's okay. So obviously this is a test, right? But you'll be able to see all the results and the answers. And one of the examples that I want to point out to everybody is that we have our web app developer putting the final touches on this particular review. You'll notice that it's kind of hard to see the choices that were picked. For here, it's NA. For here, it's never. We're going to have those a nice bright blue, so it's a little bit easier to see. So it's these kinds of things, these kinds of details that we're paying attention to, such that when you go ahead and do this as a user, it's going to be a really good experience. You'll learn a lot, you'll get certified, and it will be as clean and as easy as possible. So I think that's all I needed to say. And I want the team to speak up if I missed something, but I think I'm done. I think we're going to be going to questions now. Okay. My sharing has stopped.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea and Scott. That was very informative and it's such a great program. I'm really excited. We're going to be heading into the panel discussion portion of today's event. But please feel free, audience, to post your questions in the Zoom chat for the panelists to answer during the general Q&A. So I'm going to get started. My first question is for Chelsea. However, if any panelists would like to add their insights, please jump in as well. So Chelsea, what gap does this program fill on campus?
Yeah, with these programs, we're really looking to kind of fill that engagement and empowerment gap, particularly during the pandemic. Of course, it's been very hard to engage people who are not necessarily on campus. We haven't been able to hold events. So we're looking to use this to really get people back to kind of thinking about sustainability in their day-to-day life and how they can act in a more sustainable manner, both on campus and off. Some of these programs, we're certainly hoping that people will be able to take the lessons that they learn when they apply for certification and some of the best practices that we're providing with people, and really take those and apply those to their day-to-day life, both when they're both on campus and off campus as well. So that's really what we're looking to do with these programs, is the behavior change component and the engagement component and the empowerment of people, students, staff, and faculty on campus.
Yeah, I'd love to add on to that if I could. So yeah, like for me too as well, I think that this covers a big gap of taking ownership of sustainability here on campus. I think a lot of what U of T does is on the back end, so of our operations, our business, our waste, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's taking all of the 100,000+ people we have on campus every single day and giving them an opportunity to take ownership and actually stewarding their own campus. That's it.
That's it, just that little thing. Thank you so much. And you both kind of touched upon this. I would love to know, what has been your biggest challenge in developing this program?
I'll start. I'd say for me, it's been getting the web app ready. None of us are computer programmers, and developing the web app and really making it user-friendly. And as Scott highlighted, having all those little details in place to make sure that it's as user-friendly and looks as good as possible has been something that's been a challenge, and has certainly taken much longer than I think we anticipated at first. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, that's a good one, Chelsea. I agree. I would vote for that too as well. Good old IT is always a lot of fun. I think I would suggest, from my perspective for the programs, we really wanted to, building on that notion of making this best in class. It wasn't just, well, we're going to be the best in class for one reason or another. It was across the board. So not only with respect to what it looks like, how it's, the user friendliness, right, which we did spend a lot of time on, but as well, we wanted to make sure that we covered as much as possible that were applicable to each of those individual programs, and as much as possible when it comes to all of the SDGs. I know some of you are out there kind of wondering, what about some of the non-environmental SDGs out there? We also tried to build those in as much as we could, considering we're talking about offices, residences, et cetera, right? But I think there's a really good point here that there's going to be lots of opportunity for improvement here. This program, when we're about to launch it, is going to be V1, version 1, revision 1. We fully intend to be revising this years over years as we go forward. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of opportunity. But again, I'm going to say, if I say my biggest challenge, we'll go to Kayla next and see what she says. But I think my biggest challenge is making sure that we covered as much as we possibly could within reason, right, for each individual program to affect change. The whole point of the questions is that people are going to read it, learn, and potentially change their behavior. And setting up the programs to do that is hard. Kayla.
That's kind of what I was going to say, Scott, like just making sure that it was applicable to all people, approachable, something that, didn't take a million years to fill out or to understand, or to complicate sustainability. I think often sustainability is more complicated past the point than it needs to be. Sustainability in some cases is actually pretty simple, especially when it comes to sustainable behavior change. And it's just, maybe these little things that we have in our certification process and the questions will, ring a little bell in the head being like, I had no idea that had to do with anything with sustainability, and get people to think beyond like, recycling, reducing their paper, using reusable materials. There's so many other ways that we can become sustainable or create sustainable behavior changes. But definitely for me, just because I'm on the comms side, one of the biggest challenges for me, I wouldn't say a challenge, more of like I have to really think outside of the box of how to engage each specific audience differently, because we have students, we have staff, we have faculty. Some programs speak to students, some programs only speak to staff and faculty. So it's just like getting around all of those comms pieces and seeing what tactic works best for each program.
And I think we really didn't want to overwhelm people. We want to make sure that this is something that is achievable and felt like it was attainable, so that they could actually have that individual leadership and feel like they were making a change, but it didn't feel so overwhelming that they maybe just stopped doing the program altogether. So.
True. Thank you. Kayla, you sort of touched upon this already, but I was wondering if you could tell me more about how communication and will play a role in implementation for the program.
Yeah, like communication is definitely a major piece of this. We have to get the word out. We have to tell people about it. And like I said, we've come up with a specific communication rollout plan that is very program specific. We have general overall communications that are for everybody, but then we really wanted to go above and beyond and, target actual audiences. So for offices, target like all of our like people in our offices, all of our faculty for courses. We really wanted to target lab coordinators and researchers for our lab programs. And then for students for the residence program, social media is our best tool. It's been our best tool since the pandemic. It's been our best tool for, I don't know, maybe 5 years now that people, that's how they connect, is through Instagram and TikTok. And one of my main things that I want to do for students especially is to provide little short videos and clips of tips and tricks about how they can make their space more sustainable, how they can adopt more sustainable practices. There's lots of other things that we're doing too. We're doing like specific email marketing tactics. We're going to open up some webinars and virtual lunch and learns eventually when we get the program launched. And then as well, constantly updating our website content to reflect any program changes or upgrades or anything like that. And then for back to school, just placing a huge emphasis for, students are back, staff and faculty are back in like full swing off of the summer programs and stuff like that. So it's focusing very specifically on all of our audiences, but then also getting the word out like on an ongoing basis, monthly through social media and things like that. And then we'll also be working with UTC actually on some communications to promote all of our programs. So looking forward to all of those types of things, but they play a huge role in the sense that if you don't tell anybody about it, who's going to use the program? So
No small feat, Kayla.
No small feat. No small feat at all.
Thanks, Kayla. That's a very comprehensive comm strategy for sure.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. UTC is University of Toronto Communications. Sorry, my short forms.
That brings me to my next question, which would be for Beverly. I'm talking about comms and getting the message out. What are your hopes for implementing the Sustainable Change Program at UTM?
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks, Nadine. I think this is something that we are certainly really excited about launching at UTM. And I think we're mostly excited because this program really just aligns with our university sustainability strategic plan. We released it last year, and it just also speaks to just our commitments to sustainability. And so really what we're hoping is that we witness just a widespread participation and uptake. We really just think that participants are going to improve their environmental consciousness, their practices by participating in the program. And at the end of the day, we're really just looking to engage all members of our UTM community and really just try to inspire sustainable behaviors. And I think that the Sustainable Change Programs is a great channel to try to make this happen. And given that there are so many different options, we have the events, we have courses, we have labs, residences, offices. I really feel like there truly is a program for everyone in our community. So I'm looking forward to seeing that uptake as we go.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, it's very exciting. It's awesome to be doing something that's going to be fully tri-campus. It's very connecting between the three.
Yeah, and we're hoping to launch ours probably in the fall. Similar to what Kayla had mentioned, there's just this new energy on campus when students get back to campus, courses are restarting. We're hoping to have ours ready to be launched in the fall. And obviously the students that were working at the St. George campus were hugely influential in getting this off the ground and then continuing on with the sustainability office. So we're excited to roll this out at UTM.
Awesome, thank you. I have one more question, and this is for Scott, but please, everybody, please feel free to jump in with your insights into this. This is it's a heavy question. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So, Scott, what is a critical change U of T needs to make in order to support mitigating the effects of climate change? How does this program address that?
What a good question. That's the first time I've heard it. That's right. It's a joke, obviously. First of all, I want to thank Beverly, Nadine, Samantha from UTM, and Patricia from UTSC. I'm going to say, especially if I could, no offense, Nadine, just because you were hired after we developed the programs, but Bev and Patricia in particular were involved in the development of these programs. And you kind of touched on that, but it was really important from a stakeholder perspective that we had our Scarborough and Mississauga campuses on board with us. And I'm really happy to say that in the last sort of 6 to 8 months, we've really kind of come together as a tri-campus community, if you will, and working on a lot of initiatives together. This is just one of them. And we just happened to be launching it first year at St. George campus. But it's a great question, Nadine. What is the critical change? I think everyone's very much aware, and if you're not, you should be, of the greatness that is going on when it comes to the capital projects, right? That the university is funding and supporting from a dollar research and a manpower a dollar perspective and a resource manpower perspective. So for example, the most recent initiative is our climate positive program to become better than carbon neutral by 2050. We have another program that's right on the heels of that, that's soon to be announced, that is going to, if I can say, blow your mind, okay? That builds off of climate positive, okay? That is going to add some aggressivity to make this, to expedite that plan, if you will. It's very, very exciting. But that's capital projects that affects a limited number of people, right? But what we need to do is, the gap is, how do we encourage, how do we get 100,000 people involved in affecting or making a small little change to help us collectively achieve our goals? The only way we will get to a carbon neutral campus, I don't care how green we are, is that if everyone's paying attention and playing a part. And it's not just about climate change. I would argue that GHG is one of the things, but again, what we've tried to do with these programs is look at, yes, we're looking at energy and the GHG effects, but what about everything else? What about water? What about waste and the other remaining 15, 16 SDGs that have nothing to do with environment or limited to do with environment? Certainly they're connected, but it's indirect. We're trying to build those in. We're not done yet. We still have lots of work to do. But so if you can imagine all of our sort of big university well-funded programs when it comes to capital projects, you know, putting in the geo exchange underneath King's College Circle, it's massive. It's 15, it works out to be 15,000 metric tons out of 91,000. I can't do the percentage off the top of my head. It's a big number and reducing in a single project, but we still have 100,000 plus folks that we have to affect to get them to change. So to me, the biggest gap, touching one mind at a time. Anyone else want to build on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, as I spoke to before, it's definitely trying to get our entire community to, you know, be stewards of their own campus. They're on there, they live basically on campus for 4+ years. Some people have been there for 25+ years, maybe even longer. Who knows, right? So it's about understanding their campus, how to use it, and how to just be better stewards of the campus. And especially for students as well. I was on another thing that I was doing through a different organization, but we were talking about how students can affect so much change through just voicing their opinions, and maybe they aren't really that knowing of how much power they could actually have. So asking for the changes, like making sure that like policy changes are actually happening. Like, I mean, for years, students like rah picketed about divestment from fossil fuels, and now we're doing it, right? Like, it's happening, which is really good. But I think that getting more students involved and getting them, bringing it down to a level, like sustainability down to a level that they understand and comes like into them, that's where sustainable courses comes to play, right? Where they can understand sustainability within their own program or their study or what have you. But it's definitely, affecting change from the bottom up. Like, yeah, we might be like one or two people one-off doing these types of things, but if we all band together and like a concerted effort, as Scott says, then we can actually attain the goals that are necessary to get us to where we need to be. So it's all about the people. It's always about the people here at U of T, and it needs to be about the people. So
Yeah, I think, traditionally when you think of engagement with campus, you're thinking about how to engage students. But as Kayla had mentioned, most students come for 4 years, maybe plus a master's, that sort of thing, or they go amongst different campuses and they want to learn about different initiatives. But staff and faculty are here for so many years. And that is a big piece of why we're tapping into the sustainable change programs, is to really try to affect change with some of our longest standing, staff, faculty, librarians, people that are on campus day in and day out and know about the operations of the campus. And so this is why the sustainable change programs really does speak to them as well. It gets them involved at a granular level and lets them participate in a program that would otherwise have just been for students, So that's another reason why I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to kind of promoting this program with my colleagues and different people on campus, and just getting the word out there that this is a great way for you to affect change on a day-to-day basis when you come to work.
Yeah, and if I could also just kind of build on what everyone else has spoken about, I think that one of our goals with this program is we don't want people to think of sustainability as being something that is being done to them or something that someone else is doing to the university. We want them to think of sustainability as something that they are an active participant in. Sometimes you do get the attitude of feeling like sustainability is something like U of T is becoming more sustainable, but they don't see themselves as being a part of that. They don't see themselves as being a participant in that. And with these programs, I think we really want to change that and get people to kind of realize that they do have an active role to play and that they are absolutely a participant in the process of becoming more sustainable.
Thank you so much. That was amazing and super insightful. And I'm just so excited to be part of this team and seeing where we're going with U of T. Like you say, we're empowering people, staff, students, our faculty, everybody, and it's really exciting. Thank you so much to the panel. I'm going to move forward with the general Q&A, and we have quite a few questions in the chat. So we've also got one from the attendee hub, which is exciting. The question is, can student offices certify for the sustainable office? Organizations such as student unions of student group offices.
I think I will answer. Sorry, big pause. I think I'll answer. I think the answer is yes. At the end of the day, when we look at the sustainable residence program versus the sustainable office program, if you look at if you kind of put those two programs side to side, they're fairly similar. But as you can imagine, there's going to be some slight differences based upon students living on campus versus an office where someone comes in for 8 hours a day and goes home. But there's a lot of similarities there. So I think as long as the students have an office per se, because part of the survey is like your office space, right? The actual space that you're actually working in, even if it's a student group. So as long as there's some sort of space that is considered an office, I think that's fine. Otherwise, it might make more sense to do it as a residence. Chelsea, Kayla, any thoughts? I think that probably it's really, I think, more about the space, and you'll notice that when you start going through the survey.
Yeah, I think that if they host like a space or something on campus, then definitely go through the office program.
Yeah.
As Scott said, like it is like, yeah, based on space on campus. So, and I mean, if student unions or student clubs or anything like that host events on campus, definitely apply for a sustainable certification for events. If that answers the question.
Yeah, for student club offices and things like that on campus, if there's a physical office, then absolutely they would be able to apply for sustainable officer certification. Certain questions that we ask on the form about break rooms and things like that would not apply to those spaces, so you can just click NA on those questions.
Beauty. Every question has an NA, by the way. Oh, sorry, Nadine. I was just going to say that's a really good point. So don't worry if you don't answer a question. Okay, if you say NA, it does not affect your score. So your rating and your percentage will only be rated on the questions you answer. So if you have a number of NAs, do not be concerned. It will not degrade your score. That's your score. That's a bad word, but whatever. You know what I mean? It will not affect your score negatively.
Thanks so much. Our next question is, can you give us a bit of an intro to what is involved in the Sustainable Courses program? So please, this will involve more than just paper use or eliminating paper use.
Chelsea, I'm going to let you talk through it, and I'm going to pull it up and share it. I'm going to pull up the form.
So the Sustainable Courses program, we do still ask about paper use. So we haven't completely abandoned the whole turn in your assignments virtually aspect of it, but we also ask about things like, are students being encouraged to, for example, use reusable drinkware in class? Are we turning off the lights when we leave the classroom? But the big part of our Sustainable Courses program is the slideshow that we ask instructors to show in class. We do have I think it's a 6-slide slideshow that we ask our sustainable course applicants to show in class. And then there are parts of that slideshow as well that the instructor is welcome to modify, and they can speak about the particular SDGs that the course content focuses on. So Scott, I don't know if you want to move to the prerequisites. Yeah, so this is, you have to share the sustainable course PowerPoint, and these are the sections that you have to cover in the PowerPoint. It takes only about 5 minutes to show in class, 5-10 minutes. So we've tried to make it as small of a burden as possible on instructors to show this, but we would like them to touch on the SDGs, information about the Sustainability Office, and why they're showing the slideshow in class, and some best practices for sustainability as well.
Yeah,
and
if
I'm not mistaken. Oh, sorry.
we all started talking.
If I'm not mistaken, I think you can also achieve points for recommending a lecturer or a speaker to come in and talk to your class about sustainability or the SDGs and maybe the relation to the course offerings. And that could be done by a student as well as the professor. So another thing to get those points up.
Yeah, and then some of the additional bonus points, sorry, Scott, I was just going to talk about them.
Yeah,
some of the additional bonus points that you can get. So like the whole point is we tried to make it so that you don't have to have a sustainability course to qualify for this sustainable course, but you can get bonus points for having things like sustainability learning outcomes in it, sustainability related initiatives that you do within your own classroom, or if your course covers any kind of SDG, you can get some bonus points for that. So we did really try to make it a little bit more, user-friendly in the sense that we wanted to make sure that like an accounting course, if a prof is really like passionate about sustainability and wants to certify the course, like why not, right?
And I think very often a lot of professors aren't sure that their topic may even cover sustainability or be related to sustainability because sustainability is so broad. And so that's where the underlying teachings around the SDGs in general would be super helpful. And so that's what we're also trying to do outside of the sustainability change programs, is just highlight to our different faculty members how involved the sustainable development goals could be in your coursework. And so really trying to embed that academic and curriculum piece into the everyday teachings of different courses like accounting or economics or whatever it may be. So that's a whole other piece of our role, but definitely will be helpful as we roll out these sustainable change programs.
There's a phrase that I used to use that I still like to use today, and the phrase is the following: sustainability is everything is sustainability.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Right? Sustainability is
so
everything
broad.
is sustainability. And it's very true. I don't care what you're doing in life, there's a connection.
Yeah.
Very true. We've got quite a few questions in the chat. I'm going to.
We'll try to be short. We'll try to be a little bit shorter and sweeter so we can get to them all if we can.
Okay.
So that means I shouldn't answer anything.
Got one question about the certification process. Is there an expiry date for the certification, as well as are there any sort of resource for applicants that they can seek to improve their practices and scores?
Yeah, so they're a calendar year, correct, Chelsea? They're a calendar year, which means they expire at the end of 2022, so December. And you can certify within whatever time. But however, like if you say you certify in December 2022, I think it's still valid, right, Scott, for a little bit?
Year.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
still
yeah.
show. Yeah,
It'll say
yeah,
2022, but in like
On
it's
your
still
badge.
valid. It's still valid until December of
That's right.
2023.
But if you want to be a keener, you really want to show that you have your certification in 2023, you could do it earlier. But I mean, I wouldn't. I would wait to
Yeah.
maybe 6 months down the road into the middle of 2023 and then redo it again. But yeah, we just wanted to make it as simple as possible. So calendar year.
Yeah,
And then
courses
on
gets
our-
a little bit hairy just if the course
Yeah.
is only offered for a semester, but
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
minutiae.
And then to answer the second part of that, on our website, when it gets popped up there eventually when we launch, there's a whole section on every single one of the programs that's resources. And there are links to websites, maybe YouTube videos, some scientific articles, like things that you can read to help if there's certain areas in your scoring that you didn't do well on, then you can actually see all the general, there's Scott's got it up here, all of the general useful links that you can go to help you and support you in getting a better score to create a more sustainable space that you're in.
And keep in mind too, on our program leaderboards, you can go and view people who've given permission. You can go and view their certification form. So, for example, you'd say, "Oh, I'm curious in how this person achieved that high score." Maybe you could reach out to them, say, "I noticed that you got a really high score on sustainable offices, and I'd like to know how you did it, and if you can help me out with doing that as well."
A great suggestion.
good.
Absolutely, good way to build community. Thank you. So our next question is, how do you plan to measure the success of these programs?
Well, probably participation and then continued participation as well will be a really good key indicator into how well we're doing. But that's also dependent on our ability to promote and talk about the program too. So I anticipate probably a bit of a slow rollout at the beginning until we can start getting that healthy competition up and going. And then hopefully with that sustained participation, that will be a big key piece of measuring our success.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else.
I think also too, feedback from the program will be really important to
very
measure
much so.
success. I think we'll be sending out, like review forms for people throughout the program, just understanding if it was user friendly, did it work, did you change some of your habits, like all that kind of stuff to get a better insight of how the programs are being used and how we can, create better outcomes for
Uptake,
people,
yeah.
uptake and outcomes. Yeah.
Because Scott had said, this is version 1. So we are really looking at this as being a true living document in the sense that we can take people's feedback and include it for future iterations.
And we did, just so everyone knows, we have set aside, it's very difficult to set a KPR target for participation in each of the programs, but we've picked a notional target for each of our different programs. So it's not only just participation, but we also will want to look, of course, at the different levels, and that'll help us affect what we need to potentially revise to make the program even better and set the bar higher. But we are trying to do what we can. Everything that we do in the office, if we don't have a KPI for it now, we will in the future. We just hired a recent new project manager, Kevin Leone. He's not with us today, but he will be focused a lot around the sort of data KPI setting targets for us. And this includes engagement. And that's probably one of the tougher ones to measure from a numbers perspective. That's our every intention.
Yeah.
Hey, Kev. Sorry. No, when I say not with us,
here.
like not on the screen, and we're happy to have him. He's been with us for about a month now. Hey, Kev.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do you think we've got time for one more question, or should we?
Oh yeah,
right.
more the
Sure,
better.
one more. It's good.
Okay. So loving how broad and how many aspects are being targeted with this program. So which aspects of the program would you say are more targeted to students which aspects are more targeted for faculty and or staff?
So I think that students can certainly have some sense of participation in almost all of these programs. Obviously, sustainable residences is the one that is most obviously targeted at students. That's for students who are living on residence. But students will also be affected by sustainable courses because they'll be enrolled in those courses that are sustainable certified. Students will be visiting faculty in their offices, or perhaps they'll have a club office or something like that. So they'll see sustainable offices. There are a lot of students who have work in labs or work study placements in labs, and so they can be part of sustainable labs that way. And student groups will be holding sustainable events, and students will also be attending university events that are certified sustainable. So I think all of the programs are targeted towards students. As far as faculty and staff, faculty are obviously most affected by the sustainable courses program because they're the ones who are teaching. But faculty, if they have a lab, they can also have their lab certified, and they can have their offices certified as well. And then staff, again, are probably most targeted by the sustainable offices program. But staff for sure, again, event planners, people who are attending events, who are maybe visiting labs, who are visiting various courses. So really I think most of the programs, or all of the programs, do kind of touch on all of those groups.
Amazing, thank you so much. Okay, we're at 2:59, so I think I wanted to thank everybody in the chat for your amazing questions. Thank everybody for coming. Thank everyone for coming. And thank you to all the panelists for your time today, and also for the great work that you're doing. This is such a great program, and it's going to affect so much change. Thank you as well to the CECCS for putting this panel together, for the thoughtful participation of our audience, and to Wendy Adams for her donation that makes this celebration possible. The recording of the session will be made available on the event website in the attendee hub you use to access the event, and the link will be added into the chat. Our next live panel session as part of this series will be held on Wednesday, March 30th from 10:30 to 12 p.m. This student-initiated panel organized by LEAP U of T will be about U of T's divestment from fossil fuels and what comes next. It's going to be really exciting. If you have any questions or comments, please email CECCS at the email address given in the chat. Thank you so much to everyone.